Hello everyone and welcome to a new Let's Play of Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order, Last Days of Europe. So I usually start my playthroughs with episode 1, where I speak a lot about the mod, about the functionalities and what the mod is about. But in this instance I'm gonna have to make a little exception, and I'm gonna explain now why. Some time ago, a couple of months back, I started the playthrough of Black Ice as Germany because I considered that the ultimate challenge in that kind of mod. And while I was playing it, someone asked me about the Last Days of Europe. I checked the mod and found out that it's a sort of a continuation of what if Germany won the Second World War. And I was really excited, so I downloaded the mod, tested that it works, read a bit about its functionalities, and that's that. I have absolutely no idea what is gonna happen to us playing as Germany. I have no idea what the functionalities are gonna be, and I have no idea how the mod behaves. So I'm gonna have to skip all of this, and we are going to discover it together. Now I know that many of you actually are familiar with this mod, so if you are, I would like to ask you to not spoil it for me while I'm playing this. Please, no major spoilers, but I would appreciate any kind of advice on what to do and how to handle the game, because my assumptions can be, of course, wrong. So what I know about the mod? Well, the mod starts in 1962, where Germany is the dominant power in Europe, while we have Japan and the United States as the other two superpowers. So this is a kind of a trilateral world instead of bilateral that we know happened in our history, where you had the United States versus Soviet Union, and here it is the Third Reich, Japan, and United States. So 1962, with the triumph of the Axis over the Allied powers, a new order has descended upon the world. In the places of Union Jack and the hammer and sickle now soar the rising sun and swastika. A single light flickers desperately against the night in the United States. Germany celebrates the first man on the moon as Europe chafes, and Japan lines its pockets as China's slumber slowly breaks. The Mediterranean lies on a knife's edge, and what remains of Russia prepares to realize its destiny. So we're gonna select this scenario and see what's gonna be here for us. Now again, fair warning, this is an introductory episode. As usual, I'm gonna be going in detail through everything, and I have been warned that this is a text-heavy mod, which is perfect for me because I enjoy a good story. But if that's not your thing, then I suggest you either skip through parts of the playthrough or you search for a different one. Fair warning happens, this will not be for everyone, and I really want to get into the story and see what the world is like, because as many of you know, I am a historian by, not by trade, but by my studies, and thus I am greatly interested in these alternate realities. So there are basically four powerhouses as far as I understand it. There's the United States, there's the Third Reich, there's Japan, and there's also Italy, though I don't think that Italy itself is considered a superpower in this mod. It's more of a, as an ally of the Axis, it created some kind of alliance with Iberian Union, and it's a sort of a, I'd say this might be like we had in our world, you had the First World, the Second World, and then you had the Third World, which was all of the countries that stood aside. So this might be like the neutral states that are not in any of the powerhouses. Plus there's a bunch of Russian and other things here. We're gonna get into it in a moment. So let's read the brief history of the Third Reich. Once humbled by their failures in the Weltkrieg, Germany once more rose to prominence with the leadership of Adolf Hitler in the 1930s. Thanks to the failures of the Allies, World War II has ended in complete German victory. Germany now presides over the most powerful empire on earth, but despite her victory, Germany's control remained tenuous at best, racked by an economic crash that has frozen the nation for a decade, and with a massive slave caste providing for the German people, the population has begun to protest. The nation is now trapped in a series of student protests and the machinations of the Deutsche Bank. Now, one more thing that I should probably mention, this mod is the, it's the personalization of what I see as grim dark future. From what I saw, this is gonna be really dark. So be warned that this is not gonna have probably a happy ending in any meaning of that. Yeah, slave case, concentration camps, stuff like that will be probably all over the place. Anyway, the Großgermanisches Reich. So we have the Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeitspartei, the NSDAP. National Socialism, the iron fist clutching the heart of Europe for nearly 30 years, refers to the various styles of fascism which incorporates fervent racism, extreme militarism, and a totalitarian one-party state where individuals are subordinated to the common good. It is distinct from other forms of fascism in its core tenets of brutally enforced racial hierarchy and aggressive genocidal expansionism as a living space for its nation's people. Oh, the favorite Lebensraum. In the German sense, Nazism holds several key tenets close to its black heart. Anti-Semitism, ingrained in every political action, a deep disdain for traditional liberal democracies, the parliamentary system and capitalism, and finally its strong hatred for communism. While most National Socialist nations are either with or direct collaborators with the German Reich, the term is now often used to describe a variety of fascist movements around the world which echo Nazism's foundation, each with their own unique attributes such as radical Japanese imperialism. So we cannot force governments of another country to adopt the same ideology, we cannot puppet a country, we cannot join faction, and we cannot create collaboration governments, but we can send voting forces. That's interesting. Does that go for others as well? Aha. Yeah, this seems to be a fairly common limitation. Okay, cool. So what's then? To banish want. Production efficiency gap minus 25% and needed consumer goods plus 20%. The revolution of common man incinerated the decadence of yore, tearing everything and more down, fueled by promises of a fuller life under the better world order of National Socialism. Decades of economic mismanagement and ruin followed. Lebensraum was hardly realized and proved, alongside projects like Germania, the catalyst of the Reich's self-obliteration. Slavery, both stopgap measures and means to racial destruction at once, ultimately destroyed an entire generation's productivity and faith in the party. The inability of the NSDAP to scale down on the overbloated Wehrmacht's budget only adds insult to injury. This is a dead end. The two principles, political power gain vote by 30% and stability by 25%. The Reich's survival hinges on the feeders. The NSDAP sought to be the party with a true ideology and the one and only power in Germany. By these principles, the party fought and won, securing itself a stranglehold over the now most powerful empire on earth. By 1962, with the attempted SS coup, economic breakdown, West Russian War, and the repeated failures of the Nazi Party, all but incinerating their image as the one and only power, rampant factionalism is burning down what little remains of the true ideology. All of this under the satisfied guidance of Adolf Hitler and utter shock of the German people. Damn, but this is, while I am not really looking forward to the grimdark. Who am I kidding? I really like dystopian novels and books, so I'm really looking forward to it. But while I do not celebrate this dark future, this is a fairly good representation of what usually happens to massive dictatorial empires, where they are closely connected with the person that created them, in this case Adolf Hitler. We saw the same thing with Stalin, for example, where when that person dies, the empire usually either reforms or fractures. So this is really looking good already. NSB, modified population minus 10%, war support minus 25%, research speed minus 15%, poverty modified change minus 0.08, economic base modified change minus 2, industrial expertise modified change minus 2. Is there anything that is actually not a malus for us? NSB, the ultimate victory over the Jewish capitalist old order, came after years of bloodshed, bitter fighting and sacrifices. With the victory came the new order, with National Socialism as the guiding gospel to the God the Reich has become. A new life awaited the Germans, one of settlement in the East, and one of destiny fulfilled. General Plan Ost failed, and so did the Nazi Party's image as the sole legitimate ideology for Germany, destroyed by failure after failure. Not unlike the NSDAP's leadership, the German people are deeply divided, united in only one matter: fear for their future. That's just great. Der wilde Ritt, the Bürgerkrieg has been won, and Führer Martin Bormann has come out victorious. For the moment, our enemies have been crushed. However, Bormann's struggle to control the Großgermanisches Reich is far from over, for the fatherland lies in ruin, and if we do not act fast to rectify our poor situation, it may embolden our enemies. To prevent any challenge to our rule, we must begin to mold Germany to Bormann's desires. Doppeldenken. The Reich is the greatest nation the world has ever seen, yet it has become feeble and weary. Its people, united in the Volksgemeinschaft, are ever faithful Aryans, proud children of the Germanic race, yet we have just spent months tearing ourselves apart over ideological differences. Adolf Hitler was an infallible Führer, the wisest and strongest ruler in history, a true messiah of the German nation, but our weakness was born from his mistakes. In our hearts we know ourselves to be the undisputed masters of this world, but the powers of Japan and the United States further eclipse our glory with every passing day. National Socialism made us great, but National Socialism was the catalyst for our decline. The system is broken, twisted, inefficient, and it's all we've got. Never has it been more apparent that the Reich must change. Hitler's ideals, good and bad, brought us to this point. How can we ever abandon them? It would be madness, yes, but for all their genius, where is our everlasting victory? Why, if the Führer was infallible, are we so benign and feeble? Change must come, but it would go against everything that makes the Reich what it is. We cannot betray the Reich, but the state of it ensures that the German people suffer under economic strain and violent division. Still, I can solve this. I alone. No obstacles can be permitted to stand in my way, not even the truth. And the last one is the Great Purge. Where there was once a vicious disordinance of gunshots and explosions, a dull silence now fills the void. The screams have faded, the dust has settled, and the taste of blood and smoke lingers in the air like a distant memory. But the final body has not yet fallen. Victory everlasting is sweet to the tongue, but there are still toxic elements that threaten to spoil the favor. Littered throughout the Reich, like an infestation of rats, hide our most craven of foes, those who foolishly believe that the end of the Bürgerkrieg heralds their safety. They are wrong. From the liberal scum who blindly follow the lies of Speer to the Bormannite weasels who protected the corrupt status quo, our great purge will spare no traitor. With great aid from Reichsmarschall Ferdinand Schörner and the Wehrmacht, Göring's triumph shall be maintained for years to come. So I have no idea what this means. I guess we'll learn that in the game. So this is the current map of the world. I'm just gonna go quickly through it to highlight some little changes. So the Großgermanisches Reich is actually smaller than we ended in Black Ice. It fractured and lost the western part, Ordenstadt Burgund, which is now led by Heinrich Himmler, and it is an ally of the Reich. However, in many ways, the surrounding nations are all allied to the Reich. So we have the Reichskommissariat Nederlanden, then we have Denmark, Reichskommissariat Norwegian, Republic of Finland, as I mentioned at the end of Black Ice, has grown significantly. You have the Reichskommissariat Moscovian, Reichskommissariat Ostland, and Reichskommissariat Ukraine. There is also Großgermanisches Reich here, so we own the Crimean part. I checked that there's a big fleet station there, so I guess that is the reason why that is. Then you have the Reichskommissariat Caucasian, and that's it. As far as Russia goes, there is no Russia anymore, nor is there Soviet Union. It has fractured into many small states, which in many ways actually follow the republics that now exist. For example, you have the Komi Republic, you have Vologda, you have Irkutsk, Yakutia. So those are the current, present parts of Soviet Union. I'm not sure what's going to happen with them, whether there is going to be some kind of movement to unite them or not. But, the text mentions that Russia is going to fulfill its destiny. So my guess is that there might be something like that. As far as Japan goes, they are now known as Dai Nippon Teikoku. They hold most of the surrounding territory, which is now their vassalage. And kind of interestingly, they also own Hawaii. What I know happened where there was actually a difference is that something happened in the United States which delayed their recovery from the Great Depression, and so the United States never got around to helping the Allies in Europe. Instead of them dropping nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, what happened is that Japan dropped a nuclear bomb made by Germany on Pearl Harbor, obliterating it, which forced the United States to actually lift its blockade and sign a peace treaty with Japan. Well, we also own huge amounts of tracts of land in Africa. There's the Reichskommissariat Central Africa, there's the Reichskommissariat Ostafrika, and Reichskommissariat Südwestafrika. I don't think any of these other ones are ours. There's also Reichskommissariat Madagascar. So basically we own most of Europe. The rest is under our heel. Oh, I think I should mention also that Kingdom of England is a puppet of the Reich. Not sure about the Republic of Scotland. We'll check that in the game. And things went kind of okay for Italy as well, which owns its territories in Libya, and they also own Egypt as a puppet. So Regno di Egitto, and they got Africa Orientale Italiana. So I think this is part of it. Though there is no love between Italy and the Reich at this point. At least I think so, because there has been huge disputes after the war. Kind of interestingly, Republic of Turkey has expanded. So I think that in this version of history, but I don't know about it. So if anyone actually knows, I would appreciate posting it in the comments. What was the history of Turkey in this, in this version of events? Because Turkey has expanded quite dramatically here. In the real world, they stayed neutral, but I can see that they got parts of Greece, and probably of Bulgaria, though the lines here are very fuzzy, and they own the parts of the territory that were owned by the French and the British. So maybe with the collapse of the regime, there Turkey just swooped in and took parts of the states. I don't know. They also stole their historical lands from the Soviet Union, which leads me to believe that they were involved in the war in one way or another, but I don't know. Maybe because there's that's Italo-Turkish tensions. Well, maybe someone can tell me. I don't want to spend too much time on looking at nations that are not us. So we're gonna play on DEFCON 2, which is gonna give us a bit of analysis. We're gonna get less political power, increased supply consumption, lowered production efficiency, lack of resources penalty is increased, research speed is lowered, but we get a little bit of supply grace. Fuel consumption is increased for army, naval, and air. But I don't want to play on DEFCON 1 because that one is probably completely, blown out of proportion. So anyway, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna enter the game, spend some time investigating it, and when I'm back, I will tell you what I found, what I've set up, and where we are going to start. So again, this is completely blind, so wish me luck, and I'll be back, well, with the magics of modern editing right about in a couple of seconds. Hello everyone, and welcome to the game! I spent quite a bit more time than I actually expected in the game reading all of the tooltips, so it was well over 2 hours between the end of the intro and the moment where I am in, but I'm kind of happy with what I learned and what I've set up, so I'm just gonna go through it right now and explain myself. So kind of weirdly, I'm gonna start with the army because the economy is a bit different and we'll need to look into it in a bit more detail. So I'm going to start by the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, and then we're going to move to the economy, which is, a bit different than I usually go through it. So, Großgermanisches Reich has a really big army. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. It took me a while to organize it. We got about 48 infantry divisions, 31 motorized divisions, 20 tank divisions, 6 mountaineer divisions, 2 specialized infantry divisions, 2 paratrooper divisions, and 1 marines. Now, I split them into a number of groups. We have 2 standardized army groups, the Erste Heeresgruppe and the Zweite Heeresgruppe, each consisting of 3 armies, 2 infantry armies. So, for example, the 1st Heeresgruppe has 1st Infantry Army and 2nd Infantry Army, each consisting of 12 divisions. And then it has a Panzer Army consisting of 10 Panzer divisions. When you look at the 2nd Heeresgruppe, that one is exactly the same. We got the 4th and 5th Infantry Army, and then we have the 6th Panzer Army. Now, they're being led by Field Marshal Henning von Treschow and Field Marshal Ferdinand Schörner, with a bunch of lower class generals leading these armies. I based them mostly on their respective skills, trying to match them with who they are leading. Now, the infantry division template is actually kind of interesting. It's a smaller version of the Second World War templates that you would usually use. So they got 9 infantry battalions, and you have engineering company, support artillery, and support anti-tank. So that is pretty good. I cannot comment on the stats here. The breakthrough soft attack, it seems really high, but again, I'm coming from Black Ice where these stats are, completely differently balanced. So we're gonna have to see when we get into some kind of conflict how high or low they are. But considering their defense is nearing 700, my expectation is that getting to 1,000 or more is not a problem with most divisions. Piercing is 38, which is kind of cool. I'm also kind of happy with the bonuses that the infantry has, though we'll have to see how they perform. As far as the tank divisions go, you can see that their soft attack and defense is much lower. Breakthrough is, well, I don't know, it's weird. Like, check it out. You have soft attack, which is about the same as the infantry divisions have, even though there's only 3 motorized infantry and you have the main battle tanks, 6 battalions of these, so that's kind of weird. Hard attack is also not that much higher. Defense is significantly lower, but the breakthrough is slightly higher. So again, it's a it's a bit weird. I'm not sure how to read this, but I guess the one thing that remember we're in the Cold War era now. One thing that we can read from this is that the infantry weapons got so much better that they can now take on tanks, for example, without much trouble. Because now 9 infantry templates can pretty much have 2/3 of the attack of a panzer division. It's a bit, yeah, it's a modern era sort of fight. Let me just double check. So main battle tank has defense of 16, while infantry has 74. Breakthrough of infantry is 23, while it's 42.9 of the tanks. Soft attack 24, hard attack 12, 35, 25. Yeah, stats are a bit different. Well, either way, this is the first 2 Heeresgruppen that we have. Then we have the 3rd Heeresgruppe, which is consisting of 2 armies. One is the 7th Motorized Army, which is consisting solely of motorized divisions, which have 9 motorized infantry battalions, a support anti-tank, support artillery, and engineering company. Again, they are a bit weaker than the infantry divisions, but they are much faster. So this, army makes quite some sense. And then we have a special division template, which consists of elite infantry. When you look at their stats, this is insane. They are nearly as strong as a regular infantry division, being about half the size. So yeah, I'll have to investigate a bit more about these elite infantry, but I expect them to be part of the special forces. But we'll have to see. They also got the recon company. We have some engineers, support, anti-tank, and so on. The 4th Heeresgruppe is actually consisting of the specialized units. We have the 9th Gebirgs Army. We have the 10th See Army. And the 11th Fallschirmjäger Army. So we have 2 units of paratroopers, which... Oh yeah, that's the elite infantry, okay. So the paratroopers are, I guess, the elite infantry. We have 1 single division of Marines. And we have 6 divisions of the Gebirgsjäger, who are significantly weaker than the regular infantry units, but they got only 6 battalions of mountaineers, so that really makes them much weaker than, for example, a regular infantry division which has 9 battalions. So we would have to compare them template to template. And the last but not least is the 1st SS Gruppe, which consists of 2 SS armies. So we have the 1st SS Army and the 2nd SS Army, having 9 and 10 divisions respectively, which consist of 6 motorized infantry divisions and main battle tanks. So I felt it would be good to have the SS a bit separate. As far as the Air Force go, we have quite a nice setup of air wings of 50, which is something that I prefer. I like it. When we look at the list of our units, one thing that I'm actually not a fan of is the graphics. I understand the Cold War aesthetic, but it's really hard to read it for me at this point. So bear with me. Sometimes I'm probably gonna have a bit of a issue looking at what we have where. But we got 200 strategic bombers in 4 groups of 50. We got 50 tactical bombers and 600 fighters. 500 are actual fighters and 100 are carrier fighter planes. So that is a decent, Luftwaffe to start with. As far as Navy goes, that is a bit more complicated. We got a huge amount of ships. I went through it and I'm still not sure what to do with them at this point. They're split into 6 fleets. We have the Schwarzmeerflotte, which is the Black Sea Fleet, located in Theodorichshafen, which is why I mentioned that we retain the control of these areas of Gothenland and Taurien, because we have our fleet there. So that's why this is not part of the Reichskommissariat Ukraine, but it's directly a part of the Reich. Yeah, there's a bunch of fleets here. We got Treg Division, which is 2 carriers, Vesa and Europa. One of them is Craft Zeppelin class, another is Europa class. Then we got 3 aged battleships here, Thule, Hyperborea and Rudolf for Sebotendorf. Then we got some 3 cruisers, 2 basic destroyers, 4 1950 Zerstörers, so you are... No, those are the same, okay. And 3 frigate hulls. So I can actually put these guys all together to have them in one fleet so that we have a better idea of what we have. It's a bit out of whack. We were very top heavy with 2 carriers and 3 battleships. But I guess the screens could be something that we're gonna be building. I actually already started with that because it seems that we have a big lack of screens. Then we have the Schwarzmeer U-boat flotte, which is 9 subs that are also staying in Theodorichshafen. These subs are actually pretty standard. There's not much to say about them. What I really like is that their sub visibility is very low, and they got a pretty high torpedo attack, so that is really good. That's how I would design them. Though I guess at this point, like the sub visibility, again, I would need to see what the good thing is. Now then we got the Ostsee flotte, which is located in St. Petersburg. So it's actually in the Reichskommissariat Moscovian. We have a carrier Adolf Hitler here. It's the Raider class design. Again, I cannot comment on it much. We'll have to look into it. But having only 20 airpoints on it doesn't seem all that good. We get the Tirpitz here, or Tirpitz here. I always say Tirpitz. It's Tirpitz and the Ludendorff battleship. We got 2 early cruiser of the M class that were part of the Plan Z, and I see that they finished them here, so staying historical as much as you can. Then we got a bunch of aged Zerstörers. These are actually 1934. Yeah, Z21, Z19, these are really the early ones. So I don't know which ones are the latest, but Z56 is obviously older than these Z51s that we see. Yeah, these are 1950s. So a bit of a weaker side here. Most of these could be retired by now. I mean, it's 1962. Having ships from the 40s actually shows you pretty much how the Kriegsmarine has been treated. So let's unite this as well. Then we got the Atlantische Ozean U-boat flotte, which I think is in... Wait, where are you guys located? Oh yeah, they are. Okay. I thought that they were in England, but yeah, we have 17 subs of the 401 class. Okay, which is just a regular sub, I guess. And then we got 5 attack submarines. Considering their visibility and performance, these are older, way older. Oh yeah, we can see it also on the numbers. These are U3125, and here you have the 433, 4323. So these are the newer ones. Then we get the Marine Oberkommando der Nordsee, which is located in Norway. Again, we got subs here mostly. Most of these are probably also... Wow, these are really old. These are really old, Jesus. U901. Visibility 25. Okay, so the visibility 13 is probably really good. And then, last but not least, we got the Marine Oberkommando Süd, which I think is located... wait, this is located also in the Black Sea. Huh, that's interesting. I found that you guys have located somewhere here. So we actually have no fleet here. We have just one in the north. Then we got some ships in, and here we actually got only the subs, don't we? Yeah, so I guess it would be better to make you a Marine Oberkommando North and move you to Norway. Because I don't think we need that many ships in Black Sea. What do we have here anyway? Admiral Rada and de Grasse carriers. 3 battleships. Oh, there's Hindenburg there. Friedrich der Grosse and Grossdeutschland. We got some 3 cruisers. Here's Prince Eugen, Admiral Shea. We got some cruisers and white cruiser. Here's Admiral Hipper. Jesus Christ, these ships are 20 to 30 years old. I hope they were at least modernized. And oh my god, Z-22 Anton Schmidt, those are pre-World War II ships. Z-48, and then we got some U-boats and what is it, frigates. Okay. The F-class, I think this is 1943 or something like that. Okay, well, we are going to move you guys immediately and change you from Süd to North, and you are going to be stationed in Bergen from now on. And I haven't really given them admirals. That's one thing that I haven't done, so let's see. Oh, Dönitz is still serving. Interesting, so you are going to command the Marine Oberkommando Nord. What's your Seawolf Superior Tactician Blockade Runner? Well, okay. The Schwarzmeerflotte is going to be commanded by... I don't know these guys, those are new ones. So Kretschmer, who are you? You're Seawolf and a Lancer. So let's put you in command of the U-boats flotte. Schwarzmeerflotte is gonna be commanded by... Here's Sub-Hunter. Wow, these guys are all... Okay, Günther Luther is going to be commanding the Träger Division. We have you guys. Seawolf, Superior Tactician. Seawolf. Everyone is here. Fleet Coordination, Naval Chance. Spotter. Yeah, these guys are really all focusing on subs. Seawolf. Gunner Expert. Okay, let's put Armin Zimmermann in command of the Ostseeflotte. We'll need someone... Erich Top seems like a good guy for the... for these kinds of subs, and you can take... Yeah, we have to give these guys all traits, but considering we have 0 command power now, I have to ignore that. Okay, so that covers the army, the distribution, and the fleets. And now on to the more complicated part of the game. So they've done a lot of work in overhauling the game. There is actually a completely new mechanism for economy, which I'm gonna touch a bit on soon. But first, let's go with construction, and I'll explain why. There is no more building factories. You basically have the GDP, and the GDP translate into production units, and you distribute these production units between your civilian, military factories and the consumer goods. So we are pretty much set as far as this goes. We just need to keep an eye on the grid power. Now, I mentioned that the economy is the direct influencer on how your industry works. Pretty much like in, today's world. The strength of your nations domestic product and its economy production formulates the strength of your economy. Now, there is a couple of things. I'm going to be jumping there and back, trying to explain the stuff. If we want to get more production units, we need to increase our GDP. Now, we can increase our GDP. Here you can see it's been growing, but our economy is not in a good shape. I'm not going to lie. These are some pretty bad stats. They have right trend, but they are not in a really good shape. The only thing that we really are good at is having exceptional rating as far as our credit goes. That is amazing. And it probably reflects the fact that the debt to GDP has dropped from roughly 115-16% of our GDP to current 106. Now, having a debt to GDP of 106.7% is insane, especially for a nation as big as the Reich. This is really bad. Again, the trend is good. That's the positive way to look at it. But it is still extremely high. And if, for example, our credit rating was lowered, this would immediately hit us in the face and probably start a spiral that would lead to a bankruptcy. So we'll have to continue this trend, lowering the debt to GDP. For example, my country, Czech Republic, has currently the debt to GDP about 40%. Greece had, I believe, 170. Japan has something like 130. Italy has about 110, if I'm not mistaken. And that is seen as an insanely risky, high debt, because the debt interest on the $240 billion that we owe is 1.72%. So we're basically spending, you can see here, our total spending is $50 billion, and out of that, over $4 billion is just to pay the interest on the debt we had. So that is nearly 10% of our overall GDP going to, just servicing the debt. Not GDP, I mean the income, the taxation, the budget, basically. So 10% of our budget is going to servicing our debt, which is really bad. Furthermore, we have an awful yearly deficit of nearly 7% of our GDP, which is insane when compared to the fact that we have a real GDP growth of 1.7%. When you take the nominal GDP growth is 7, but we have a 5.4 inflation, so real GDP is 1.7%. Ideally, you cannot have a deficit higher than your real GDP growth. Basically, it means that our economy is growing by 1.7%, but our debt is growing by nearly 7%. So we are poorer and poorer by 5% every year. So unfortunately, we'll need to cut the budget here significantly. What I like is that they actually connected the deficit to the GDP growth. Basically, if you invest more, you expand the economy. That's how it works in the real world. You cannot have an economy where you are, well, you can, but not for a long time, where you actually have a surplus that you stockpile, basically pulling the money from the economy and have a growth. You need to, invest money into the economy to have an actual expanding economy. And they did it in a way where the actual GDP growth is connected to a number of things, and one of them is actually the height of your deficit. So the higher your deficit is, the higher your economy is growing. But considering our debt being this high, we cannot keep this up for long. So there is a couple of things that you can use these sliders for. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to immediately cut the army expenditure, naval expenditures, and nuclear expenditures, greatly lowering the deficit that we have. And you see that immediately our nominal GDP growth and real GDP growth has dropped, but not as much as the deficit. I'm not planning to get involved in any conflicts anytime soon, hopefully, so this should be fine. But the civilian spending is something that I am a bit fuzzy on. But I kind of like it. I like the way they do it. You have basically social expenditures, which go to your stats as far as your society goes. So we have healthcare, education, pensions, unemployment. Then you have administrative expenditures and science expenditures. Now, we still need to lower the spending. I need to get the deficit below the real GDP growth so that we grow faster than we incur debt. But it is going to require further cuts. I don't know what I can cut here. The administrative expenditures actually increase stability and taxable population, which is something that I think we shouldn't cut. Plus, the expenditures here aren't all that big. What I think would be an ideal thing to cut would be the social expenses. So if we go to a minimum, you will see that the deficit is now minus 0.54%. And the real GDP growth is 0.53%. If we actually lower the science expenditures, now you see it went green because our yearly deficit is lower than the real GDP growth. So I'm going to cut investment. Oh, here we go. If I cut the investment into science, you will see that we actually have a yearly surplus of 0.75 billion, but the real GDP growth is now almost non-existent. So I don't want to go that far. I would really like it if our GDP would be growing and we had, for example, a deficit of 0.12 GDP. With a real GDP growth of 0.28, this means that our economy is going to grow and our debt to GDP should lower. I would be okay even with it's staying the same, but I'm not entirely sure how high you can go with it. We'll have to see what the game is going to do, but if we can keep it in green, I will be happy. Now, there's a ton of social stats here which are really depressing. Our population grew by 3.32 million people last year, but the ranks of the poor grew by nearly 5 million, which is insane. Nearly 2 million people learned to read. About 543,000 people enrolled in colleges, but 1.12 million people died from preventable diseases. We increased our agriculture yield. Some people received state pensions. Military personnel increased. There's a nuclear stockpile here. GDP per capita keeps increasing, but it's currently at $1,750. I guess this is US dollars, which is very low, though. I don't know the stats. I would have to backtrack it for inflation to see how high it was. So maybe this is pretty good. If someone can remind me in the comments, I'll how much $1,750 was in 1962. I'll check it out. Poverty rate though is nearly 45%, which is insane. Trade is pretty good. I guess there's not much we can say there. Now, where it gets really depressing is I looked at our political policies, and those are not good. Those are really, really, really not good, or at least they're horrifying. So, political party with one-party state, that's understandable. Religious rights are suppressed. We have trade unions controlled by the state. Immigration, skilled labor only, that's fine. But we have institutionalized forced labor, meaning that basically we have concentration camps and slaves as a daily part of the world. Public meetings are regulated, press rights, state press only, voter franchise, registered voting. You cannot change these. What you can change is some of these other stats. Wait, actually, maybe you can. I didn't. Oh yeah, you can. Okay, well actually, you cannot change these stats, but we can see what other options there are. So we have a one-party state, which gives daily political power gain bonus and helps with the ideology truth defense, controlled opposition, suppression of churches, state atheism, secularism, trade unions. What about the forced labor? We have institutionalized, which is the second worst option. Caste system. Okay, there's corvée slavery, penal labor, work programs, POV only, and complete ban. Okay, well, we have this kills our stability, kills the war support, lowers monthly population, lowers recruitable population, lowers industrial expertise, monthly agricultural base, and monthly poverty rate. So, yeah, slavery is pretty much only good for the slave labor, for the slave owners. It's terrible for the slaves, and it's terrible for the society as a whole. Now, military policies, we got broadened conscription, which, unfortunately, again, we cannot change any of these. I think these can be changed only via events. Supervision, encourage brutality is the worst option. Basically, I guess this means that our troops are at the mercy of their superiors. Training, we get basic training. Again, this is a bit weird. I would expect combat school or advanced methods, but I guess Reich isn't what it used to be. Draft exemptions, no draft exemptions. Everyone has to serve. There's education deferment, civil service opt-out, and generous exemptions. Economic policies. So we have heavy protectionism on our trade. We have corporatist structure as income... corporatist structure as income taxation. Poverty taxation rate. Flat taxes, high income weight. We have a shrinking minimum wage, meaning that people probably don't die of hunger, but that's about it. We have a 14-hour workday. That's like insane. So you get the combination of slave labor, encourage brutality, 14-hour workday, no subsidies for the unemployed, and low pensions. Wow, what a dystopian nightmare. Social policies, we have low income protections for healthcare, we have public education. That's the only thing that I actually think is pretty good. Though I would like to have a subsidized hire or public hire, or free. We have a harsh penal code, we have oppressive police, we have industrial regulations and gender rights traditional roles. Which is kind of interesting because I think that the Reich during its later stages kind of went with the women in the workplace, but I guess it kind of dropped back down. These are some assorted laws. We got good pollution regulation, minimal safety, restricted child labor, skilled refugees only, state oppression of the minorities, no racial integration, women are banned from the service, and sexual minorities are outlawed. Okay, and societal development, 44.12% poverty rate. It's increasing. Academic base is dropping, unfortunately. Research facilities, agricultural methods, healthcare, and administrative efficiency are all staying. Industrial expertise is dropping, military professionalism is dropping, and industrial equipment stays the same. So it is, nightmarish, to say the least. Now, what I did here is I'm trying to battle it. There's a way how you can increase your GDP. I actually checked. What is it? Macro here. I looked at the multipliers here, and the only thing that we can actually do here is increase infrastructure. We're getting a decent bonus from built infrastructure. So I started building infrastructure around the Reich. And we're also building prisons, schools, and hospitals to increase the efficiency of our institutions. Now, it tells you here that, the higher the coverage is, the better effect you have. And it suggests some areas where you should build it, which is usually the most populous nations, most populous states of your nation. So we're going with Sachsen, which has over 6 million people. We're building also in... Wait, if I can check it this way. Yeah, we're building in Bohemia, Sachsen, and in Oberschlesien, because those are the most populous regions. We got 5 million here, we got 4.71 million in Bohemia, and Sachsen has 6 million. I'm also building, I think, in Germania, which is the capital of Berlin, basically, now called Germania, Westhauptstadt, Germania, because they rebuilt it completely after the war. And we're also building in Danzig and other places where we actually get benefits from the infrastructure, where it's going to boost our industrial and, well, not industrial, basically the mining efficiency. So we're going to get more steel, more food and stuff like that. So I went around and found the areas where it's going to be beneficial. So hopefully this is gonna jumpstart the economy a bit, but I expect that once we unpause the game, these all stats are gonna change and we'll have to revisit them anyway. As far as research goes, I went with the same logic. We have hospital construction 1 here, which should increase monthly population. Policy effect of hospital is going to increase, coverage is going to increase, and construction speed of hospitals will increase. We're increasing the consumer goods production. We're working on the industry management, which should help production units to GDP ratio modifier. We're working on synthetic aperture radar and logistics companies. Now, in most cases, we are on par with the timeline. There are some things like the this is anti-tank and anti-air weapons where we are a bit behind. We also don't have the improved motorized equipment, and some of the logistics some of the special forces and support are a bit behind. But I think we'll catch up pretty quickly. But as we need to jumpstart the GDP, I went primarily with industry and engineering to get some of these flat-out technologies out of there. You can see that we're working on the hospital construction and so on. I think that the early industrial robots are going to help us with the output, and there are also some, the consumer goods technologies are going to be good because they're going to lower the amount, if I understand it correctly, of factories that we need to put into here. And as far as production goes, we got 51 out of 55 factories assigned, and we're missing anti-air equipment, so I can put it for production. Let's put 2 factories there. Is that all? It is all. Okay. So let's put 4 factories on it. We'll change it a bit. You can see that I actually started, because we're finishing the Avalanche aircraft carrier. It will be done in 6 days. So I scheduled 2, these are white cruisers? Yeah, white cruisers. The Otto class white cruisers for construction as screens for our fleets. And we're gonna finish these 2 and then start working on the destroyers. Though they're gonna take well over a year and a half to be built. But it will fit us for now. Okay, last but not least, the focus tree. I actually went and looked through it. It's a bit interesting. There is the Convene the Reichstag, Pact War Games, and the Enemy of My Enemy. I actually think we might go with the Enemy of My Enemy first, because there are some diplomatic things here, like the almighty dollar, which should there's easing the embargoes, the Trojan horse. So first we need to finish the Man on the Moon, which is our first focus, and then we need to decide which way we're gonna go. But we need to reform the Reich if it's to survive. So, A Man on the Moon. This is our moment, the culmination of decades of tiresome research and continuous advancement. Headed by the brilliant Dr. Werner von Braun, the German Aerospace Center is ready to commence its greatest operation to date, landing the first man on the Moon. If successful, it will become the Reich's greatest scientific achievement since the weaponization of the atom. The space race is to now come to an end, with the dominant will of National Socialism soon to triumph over the degenerate Americans and backwards Japanese once again. Heil Hitler! That leads me to the last thing, actually. The mechanics of the game are really changed. I don't know where I read it, but there is a really good information here. Basically, we will get involved in wars. But if we get involved in a direct war against United States or Japan, it's over for us. Basically, at that moment, the nations are probably going to obliterate each other with their nuclear arsenal. Right now, we got 20,102 nuclear warheads in the strategic arsenal, and there are about 128 produced every month. So you got roughly 40,000 nuclear warheads, available to the three superpowers here. Most of the wars that we are going to be doing are gonna happen via proxy wars. So, for example, an example of proxy war was Korea, where you had the Koreans and North Koreans fighting each other, and they were supported by the nations, respective nations. Or you could see, for example, the war in Vietnam as a proxy war, or the fights in Latin America were proxy wars, where different nations were supported by different factions. Many proxy wars happened in Africa, so it's gonna be interesting to see how well we are going to perform in this. I saw that we can send volunteers, so that's one thing that we will probably be able to do, but we'll have to avoid the the direct conflict with our greatest enemies. Unfortunately, realistically, like the moment the Soviet Union would get in a direct conflict with the United States of America during the 60s, it would be over, which is why, for example, the Cuban crisis was such a nightmare for the international community, because that was the moment where people were just one step away from nuclear war. Okay, I think this is a good general introduction to the mod. This is all that I have learned during the search. There is, for example, a couple of other things, like you have here the German militarist information here. You have some leaders here. I don't know if that's going to play a role. We'll have to track a lot of things and learn a lot of things during this playthrough, but I'm looking forward to it, The first and foremost thing, though, is going to be our economy. We need to keep the economy running. We need to keep lowering the debt. We need to increasing the GDP. We need to increase our production, reform our army, probably try to upgrade some of our units, but keep the expenses low, of course. Keep boosting the infrastructure, making sure that our economy grows, and we'll see what kind of events we'll see. Okay, so in the next episode, we're gonna send a man to the moon and probably see what's up with the world. That's gonna be what we will look into. So, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, usual stuff, introductory episode, over an hour worth of talking, but I believe it was worth it, because we need to know this stuff if we want to be a part of the general strategy. So, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next episode with Großgermanisches Reich.